I had to work really hard at the movement of the face because as you do as well, when you don't have the luxury to take your helmet off, you want the audience to feel what you're feeling, and you can't just tilt your head a tiny bit. You have to. For me, I have to overemphasize the movement for it to translate, and it's quite over the top at times.
It was so much fun to learn that language of movement. Like at the beginning when we were all sort of in the same boat in season 1, and I remember we were shooting episodes 1 and 3 at the same time. And so we had Dave and Deborah both directing, and everyone who was in a helmet was needing the same feedback. And I enjoyed that because it did feel like, okay, we're all in the same boat. The pressure was off a little bit. It was a fun experiment to see what in my head was coming out the way I wanted it to.
Mm-hmm.
And it wound up being, and she continues to be for me, such an exercise in trust that I can do very little because, like you said, like every movement is magnified. And she's somebody who definitely doesn't give much away. And you have spent enough time with me in the real world to know that I'm standing right now. I don't like sitting.
Yeah.
I'm constantly moving. My mom tells me as a compliment, but I don't always take it this way. She's always like, I just love your facial expressions when you're acting, which in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm mugging. Okay. But yeah, I did find that coming back to her for the Book of Boba Fett, after having had the luxury of seeing season 1, I felt a lot more comfortable trusting it because I knew that even though it felt so awkward, like my armor's not that heavy, but it's cumbersome.
Yeah.
And in that Book of Boba Fett episode, I was hammering so much, and that was hard. It's not really built for that kind of movement. But I realized I did have this freedom and this trust with it that I hadn't had in season 1, because I think all of season 1, I was like, is this working? I don't even know.